We're back with a live look for you outside of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee.
This is, of course, day 2 of the event, with many people still talking about the former president's choice for a running mate yesterday. Joining us now here in studio is political science professor Stephen Maynard Caliendo from North Central. Thank you so much for being here.
It's great to see you both.
Let's kick it off with that vice presidential choice. What are your thoughts on J.D. Vance and what he may bring to the ticket?
My thoughts are that he brings almost nothing to the ticket, which means that it was a decision by President Trump that he's very confident in his victory. In other words, he wasn't looking to bring in additional voters with this particular pick. This is somebody who the president respects, who the president likes, and I think it's somebody who the president believes will be loyal, unlike his previous vice president when push came to shove on January 6, 2021. And so I don't think this is a move to bring in new voters necessarily. It's a move to solidify the ticket and solidify the base that he has in place.
Real quick, though, what about his age, the fact that he's so much younger and from Ohio?
Yeah, well, I mean, no matter who it was probably going to be somebody younger. And since both of these candidates are so old, vice presidential picks matter a little bit more probably this year than they typically do. But what we know in political science is that generally people do not vote for vice presidential candidates. The age of these two, though, is unique. And so it may come into play in different ways. But what you're going to get with J.D. Vance is simply a younger version of Donald Trump in a lot of ways.
Okay. Immigration, the focus today for the RNC.
Will be.
How important is that for the party?
So much. I mean, this will be the night of fear. That's important, right? To evoke emotions. There'll be lots of anecdotes, scary anecdotes about people who crossed the border without authorization and committed terrible crimes. What's going to be interesting tonight, though, is to see the degree to which they can maintain a positive atmosphere. They did that very well last night for the most part. Lots of smiles, but it ended up in some awkward moments where people were smiling while they were saying terrible things. And so there's going to be so much of a focus on violence and crime tonight, but they still want to keep things upbeat, keep people happy, play exciting music in between the speakers. And so balancing that is quite a trick, but there's a lot of professional people that are working on that.
So immigration's important. There's been a little bit more diversity in the Republican Party as well. There was a Black Mayor's event today, for example. How important it is to broaden this tent. This has always been a complaint in the Republican Party that they really are kind of narrow as far as who their constituents are.
That's right, Marion. And I think they're definitely seeing an opportunity, particularly for black men. I think we had 5 black male speakers last night. And so we're going, and really, they serve 2 purposes. One is if you can peel a little bit away in those key states, right? Keep President Biden from getting 95% of the black vote and make it 90 or 85. That can make a difference because we know some of those states are so important. It also helps white folks feel a little more comfortable with the accusation that they may be racially biased because they're voting for somebody who has these accusations. And so when you have black speakers come forward, when you have Latinx speakers come forward, it eases some of that white concern among voters, especially in the suburbs. They're going to have to look for ways, particularly for women in the suburbs who may peel off from even the last election, forget about 2016, because of overturning Roe versus Wade. And so they're going to need, there's some demographic areas that they have to tackle.
All right. Thank you so much,
Stephen
Professor.
Caliendo, really appreciate it.
It's great to see you both.
Great to see you.
Well, I'm sure we'll see you again on election night.
I'll be around.
Several sessions. And
that's true.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Republicans are holding their national convention in Milwaukee, and they are making a big effort to highlight the party's diversity. Whether it was the leader of the Teamsters, Aurora's Mayor Richard Irvin, or Chicago Pastor Cory Brooks, the message is it takes a coalition to win. Political reporter Marianne Ahern has the very latest for us from Milwaukee.
Good evening. Conventions, they're all about energizing the vote, pep rallies of sort. And in a close election, it is also a way to talk to those who might not normally be listening, expand that base. Black voters often seen as Democratic, but today here in Milwaukee, those from the city of Chicago as well as the suburbs, they came to say, don't take our vote for granted. Southside Chicago pastor Cory Brooks takes center stage as the RNC's final speaker tonight. Brooks from New Beginnings Church on the South Side previously supported Republican Governor Bruce Rauner.
In the past, people may have felt like the Republican Party was not welcoming them or not inviting them, but it's a new day.
Tuesday's RNC theme is immigration. Along with inflation, he believes those are the top issues his Chicago parishioners care about. And the GOP message resonates.
I am a Republican mayor in a blue city, in a blue state.
Aurora Mayor Richard Irvin, who ran and lost in the Republican fight for governor in Illinois, founded the Black Republican Mayors Association. He had a packed event Tuesday in Milwaukee celebrating black delegates and politicians.
I think the Democratic Party has made promises they haven't kept to the black community and just came looking for us for votes when it comes to election time.
A key speaker at the event, who had also been on the short list to be Donald Trump's running mate, Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina.
As African-American conservatives, sometimes it's easy to feel like you're the only one. You are not the only one. There are thousands, if not millions, all around the country who believe like we believe.
Pastor Brooks, meanwhile, points to night one of the RNC when the president of the Teamsters Union spoke to Republicans across America as proof the party today is more diverse.
The Republican Party is not just for the country boys and at the Country Boy Club. It's a party that's welcoming a lot of people like myself.
And tonight, more diversity will be on display. Speakers include former presidential candidate rivals Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis. And of course, Pastor Brooks will offer the benediction at the end of the evening. From Milwaukee, Marianne Ahern, NBC5 News.
Outside the Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee, both parties are doing everything possible to win over the residents' votes there. They're using everything from commercials on television to billboards around the city. And as Jorge de Santiago explains, the residents there are waiting to hear what will happen tonight at the RNC. Jorge.
Hey there, outside of the venue for the RNC, the topic of immigration and the border is one that generates a lot of opinion. Let me get out of the way so you guys get a better glimpse of what's going on out here. This is a heavily guarded perimeter because this is where the delegates and the attendees of the convention will pass through. All across the city of Milwaukee, residents are being flooded with billboards showing candidates going after each other's record. But these billboards don't seem to distract voters from the topic of immigration and the border. Both are issues that will be focused today at the RNC 2024.
You know, the problem with the immigration, this term, we scare the people, you know?
If you strip away the propaganda, guys, strip away the propaganda. It's not anybody's fault that there's a ton of people coming to our southern border, other than the fact that the United States is a great place to live.
Yeah, here's my thing with Biden. You know, Biden said it at the debate. He was going to do this in his next term. He's the current president. Why isn't he doing it right now? That's what concerns me. And with Trump, we saw an extreme media push that he wanted to close down and he was prejudiced. But now we see why. He saw something that we didn't see.
And residents in Milwaukee that I spoke with say they will pay close attention to tonight's speaker as they spotlight immigration and border control. Live in Milwaukee, Jorge de Santiago for Telemundo and NBC5 News. Now back to you guys in studio.
Thank you so much, Jorge.
Night 2 of the Republican National Convention just wrapped up, a huge pep rally for the Trump-Vance GOP ticket. Tonight's themes were immigration and make America safe again. Our political reporter Marianne Ahern is live at the convention in Milwaukee, where a Chicago speaker took the spotlight tonight. Marianne.
You're right, Stefan, and it was safe neighborhoods and safe cities that was the main theme tonight. Republicans believing that they have the advantage on that issue. Also tonight, it was the turn for the former Trump rivals to show their unity. Former President Donald Trump, fist raised, back for night 2 of the RNC, joining his running mate J.D. Vance in the VIP box.
Biden made one of the worst mistakes of any president in history when he told illegals to come here and surge our border.
From the convention floor, the Illinois delegation agrees securing the border is a top issue.
I think the Republican Party is going to focus on making sure that we're respectful of people who are coming here, but also that the rule of law is what we're talking about tonight.
We want to take care of our own people first, and then we want people to be able to come to this country legally. So it's a mess.
We are facing an invasion.
Senator Ted Cruz, a Trump opponent in 2016, and more recent 2024 rivals Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley, all on the RNC stage tonight, now supporting the party's ticket.
America cannot afford 4 more years of a weekend at Bernie's presidency.
To my fellow Republicans, We must not only be a unified party, we must also expand our party.
While some of the more moderate GOP elected officials are skipping Milwaukee, Illinois Minority Leader Tony McCumbee says intra-party squabbles are best debated privately.
Whether it's northern, Chicago, central, southern Illinois, you certainly are seeing a unified approach and people just coming together to bring President Trump.
Grant us wisdom and courage and discernment as we chart the path of our beloved country. May our deeds reflect your real.
Closing out tonight's program, Chicago pastor Corey Brooks, known as the rooftop pastor. Brooks has leaned into Republican candidates and offered a passionate final prayer moments ago, saying all things are possible. A big night again on this second evening here in Milwaukee. Tomorrow we will hear from Vice Presidential candidate J.D. Vance. It will be for many, for millions, their first chance of seeing and hearing him, that first impression moment. Reporting live tonight from Milwaukee, Marianne Ahern, NBC 5 News. Stephen?
Okay, it's a busy week, Marianne. Thank you very much. The Secret Service tonight facing a chorus of critics in the wake of Saturday's security failures at a Trump rally in Pennsylvania. The attempted assassination now prompting President Biden to push for a new weapons ban. NBC5's Lexi Suter is here with us now with that story. Lexi?
Stephen, tonight we've learned local police in Butler, Pennsylvania came in contact with the shooter moments before he fired those shots, and that the building that the shooter climbed on top of was identified multiple times as a point of interest during the rally planning process. This building and its roof was discussed during at least 2 security meetings leading up to Saturday's rally. That's according to Butler Township Manager Tom Knights, who says his police officers were never tasked with manning the building.
Our officers were stationed in the vicinity of the building that the shooter was on, primarily and specific to traffic control.
However, rally-goers did report seeing a suspicious man, and it was heard across police radios, prompting the local officers to check it out. Unable to see to the top of the roof, Knight said one officer hoisted another one up.
When he was able to pull his head up over the roof, he did in fact see an individual on the roof with a weapon.
Knights says the officer was hanging onto the side of the roof by his hands when the shooter
turned towards him, had the barrel of his weapon pointed at the officer.
Today, President Biden spoke to supporters in Las Vegas, calling for a ban on assault weapons, recalling how former President Trump was in fact targeted with one.
The AR-15 was used in the shooting of Donald Trump, just as it was an assault weapon that killed so many others, including children. It's time to outlaw them. I did it once and I will do it again.
The Secret Service says the shooting targeting Trump should have never happened. In fact, Trump had more security than usual on Saturday because U.S. intelligence learned of an Iranian plot to kill him. Now, speaking of security, it is intensified in Milwaukee for the RNC this week. Today, police officers from Columbus, Ohio, that were brought in to protect the convention shot and killed a man experiencing homelessness. Now, that man charged at another person with 2 knives. He didn't listen to commands, and that's what prompted officers to fire their weapons. No police officers were hurt during that incident. Stephen?
Lexi Suter joining us tonight. Lexi, thank you very much.